Hello, today we are going to discuss about IaaS and hybrid cloud, how they work together, and in that we'll discuss orchestration, virtualization, and that too between Eucalyptus and Amazon. Then we'll discuss about content delivery network (CDNs), and we'll see how CDNs content delivery network of Facebook and Akamai works together as a hybrid. So we'll start with orchestration and virtualization. In this, we'll see type 1, type 2, bare metal, hosted hypervisor, and both combined type 1, type 2. Then we'll start with IaaS, infrastructure as a service, is basically online service which provides you the hardware abstraction or dereferencing. Means you can use the hardware of a remote machine or remote server. Why you will use it? Because your machine have limited infrastructure. So you can use infrastructure of other server remotely. So what it does, does dereferencing or abstraction of lower level details. Like what are the lower level details? Physical computing you can use remotely from your mobile. Location dereferencing means it could be anywhere in the world. Then data partitioning means multiple data are being stored at multiple locations. Then scalability you can do. There will be a scalable input output. Then security is there, that your data will be safe and secure over there. Then backup service would be good in such cases. Then in IES basically deals with two things: orchestration and virtualization. So how infrastructure as a service does these two things together, we'll discuss. So examples of IaaS, we'll see. What are the example of IaaS? So IaaS basically uses and involves with orchestration and virtualization technologies like in the Eucalyptus, OpenStack, Apache Cloud Stack, OpenNebula. These are the open source cloud platforms where they have different type of hypervisors, whether they belongs to public, private, or hybrid. It has also been there. So Eucalyptus uses KVM, Zen, VMware hypervisors, and hybrid cloud computing basically uses Amazon Elastic Compute Cloud EC2. Then OpenStack, OpenStack is a RESTful API based cloud platform, and then hybrid cloud are basically which connects locally private as well as with some API remotely available. Then Apache Cloud Stack is there, in which you can use virtualization. You have virtualization done with this cloud stack with KVM and VMware is vSphere. EXI and V-centered Zen servers are there. So these are all these hypervisors. In detail, if you go, these are course, and there's lots of lectures and details are there for these, for them. So then Open Nebula is there. Open Nebula is again using some hypervisor, which is VMware, vCentered, KVM, LXD, and AWS Firebase. Then you have AWS. These are the example of IaaS cloud available. Amazon Web Service, most popular one. Then AppScale, Microsoft Azure. Some popular ones are like Engine Yard, IBM Cloud, Rackspace Cloud. So these are the famous one. So you can go and read about them in detail if you want. So anyhow, you have to work with one or two of them in future. So these numbers are getting decreased by the time, because every cloud company won't be able to succeed, and every uh, thing can't be there for lifelong. So their number keep on increasing or decreasing. Then orchestration we'll discuss. Orchestration is basically automated configuration, coordination, and management of the lower level abstraction. What are the lower level abstraction? Like it does virtualization. How it do virtualization? With the help of service oriented architecture. So that service oriented architecture basically manages virtualization, it manages provisioning, it do convergent infrastructure management. Then dynamic data center means there is a server, physical server is there, and there are multiple servers are there kept in the data center. Then this makes a converged infrastructure, and all these things are basically having provisioning and deprovisioning that we discussed. Now, this provisioning and deprovisioning will be done with the help of virtualization tools, and these are being connected with some service oriented architecture together, and that service oriented architecture gives the client that how to access infrastructure as a service. So that's orchestration part between. So it this orchestration involves infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, as well as software as a service. All three mixture, how they manage and work together, how they coordinate together, configuration is there. So all these things is said to be orchestration. Then what is the purpose of this orchestration? To meet out the demand of application, data and infrastructure. Then what is difference between workflow automation and orchestration? So there are two words. There's workflow automation, which is there, and orchestration. So workflow automation deals with processing and complete processing for the single domain for automation purpose. For example, the automation for doing the uh, for claiming an insurance of a vehicle car. So there is an automation workflow for the how the client will bring his car to a showroom service center, and service center will raise insurance to that these parts are being damaged. So this insurance needed to be recovered. So that insurance company will start processing. Then the insurance get approved, and then client will be informed, and then the repairing of that car will start, and then car service center will deliver the car. So this is how the insurance workflow and car repairing workflow works. Then orchestration is basically deals with it includes workflow, means this whole automation whatever they do in the IT infrastructure will be involved in this orchestration. And orchestration also deals with how to do this, means it's not just non-technical word. Workflow is means mostly belongs to non-technical, but orchestration is belongs to more about the IT based engineering or IT services. So they deals with how the infrastructure should be there, how the website should be looked, how the information could be filled out, how the database will be managed, how the scalability would be managed. So that's the larger goal of orchestration. Workflow uh, in a specific process is for single thing. It's a social activity, or you can say non-technical activity. Now this orchestration is a technical core technical computer science activity, and that deals with uh, hardware, softwares, and all these things, front end, back end. Then in virtualization, we'll discuss what is the purpose of virtualization, how it has been done. Virtualization, we had already discussed in brief that to abstract or dereference the lower level resources like hardware or some software or some storage. So that is virtualization. We'll not discuss it again. We'll just directly start looking for the hypervisor, how it is being done. So the virtualization is being done with the help of hypervisor. So how hypervisor would do? Hypervisor runs on one or two or more virtual machines, and that could be said as host machine, means the core machine that is having silicon or the hardware. So that's the host machine. And if there's operating system installed in that machine, and then again a illusion based machine will be installed, that is virtual machine it has been containing, then we can say it's a guest machine. So there's two different phenomena: host machine which actually have its own hardware, and guest machine which doesn't have its own hardware. It depends on the host machine's hardware. So we'll see this example. Type 1 is there. It is also being said as bare metal deployment. And this is type 2 hardwares are also there. In the type 1, hypervisor is directly installed over the hardware. So means hypervisor directly communicate with the storage as well as with networking as well as with the processor. All these hardwares are being communicated directly by the hypervisor, and over this hypervisor you can install one operating system, two operating system, three operating system, multiple operating systems. So this is type 1 bare metal deployment. So bare metal hypervisor. Then type 2 is there where you'll have hardware be there, and you just simply install operating system like you can install Ubuntu, Windows or something like that. And on top of that operating system, you can install what? Hypervisor. In that hypervisor, what it does, it creates an illusion or abstraction. It communicates with OS functionality, and it communicates with this hypervisor communicate and uses the OS functionalities to create another OS. Means you can install another OS on it. So that's the type 2 type of virtualization. Then this is type 1 and native bare metal hypervisor, that it runs basically on the hosted hardware. Means there's a hosted hardware is there, and that hosted hardware basically controls and manages guest operating system. What are the examples of these type 1 hypervisor which work directly on the hardware, and it controls directly hardware and manages other guest operating system. So the example of these are like Siemens, which was being, and IBM CP40, which was being introduced in 1960s, which is the oldest one that human know as the form of hypervisor. Then Microsoft V, Hyper-V, Xbox One software system, VMware EXI, Nutanix AHV, XP, XCP, NG, then Oracle, Power, Zen. So these are the example of type 1 which directly installed on the hardware. Then there's type 2 hypervisor, which actually have a conventional way of that there is a conventional operating system being installed in your hardware. Means suppose laptop, so Windows operating system is being installed, and then you want to install a guest operating system on that Ubuntu operating system. So first you install VirtualBox or that some virtual VMware you'll install. So in that you put what? You put that software on operating system Windows, and then on top of that you install Ubuntu. Then this Oracle VirtualBox is an example. Parallel desktop for Mac is an example. QEMU VirtualBox. Then VMware Workstation Player are there. Then both type 1, type 2 could behave. Means so that KVM kernel based virtual machine can behave both as a type 1, means it can install on the hardware, and it can also be configured above the operating system. So KVM, then free BSD, so Beehive should be there. It's distributed by Berkeley Software Distribution. Then we'll discuss about hybrid Eucalyptus and Amazon EC2. What does it do? It does it provide Amazon provides three type of services: EC2, Elastic Compute Cloud, and Elastic Block Storage (EBS). And there's S3, Simple Storage Service. So Amazon EC2 do what? These are the five basic property it does. So pay per usage, whatever our customer or client is using, they'll rent a virtual machine, they'll take a virtual machine and run the application over it. Then elasticity it manages EC2. It do the scalable deployment and some applications over the web services. Then what it does, it creates Amazon images. Amazon images are being created for the management purpose of various type of operating system, and operating system contains various type of software. Then this create, launch, and terminate. So this create, launch, and terminate basically does this. You just create some instance or image of some software installed over a operating system. Then you launch that software, and you can start using it, and then you may terminate that image. Then this Amazon can be this could be Amazon had itself switched itself its own company of buying product and selling product, retailing product onto the EC2 model of own Amazon Web Service. So this Amazon retail website, whatever you see and use it to purchase some product online, so that itself shifted to EC2, Elastic Compute Cloud. Then EBS is their Amazon Elastic Block Storage that actually provides raw block level usage that actually been attached to some Amazon EC2 that has instance that can be used for the Amazon Relational Database Service. RDS is there. Amazon EBS is their Elastic Block Storage. So that have the different type of blocks are there being stored, and that actually blocks are being used for the attached with the EC2. Means EC2 is a computational power. It can have a whole thing of operating system and softwares, and that is been aligned with some elastic block storage, so that you can have as much storage as possible. Then Amazon Relational Database Service is there, where you can have formal database like column oriented databases are there, like you can have relational functionality, SQL you can run. So these type of relational database services are there. Then Amazon Simple Storage Service means you can have storage, you can purchase some drive and you can store some part of your you have to upload, and that will do the scalable infrastructure for storage, and that could be done with the help of web service interface. Then cloud controllers are there. So what cloud controllers do? Cloud controller basically do administration, development, and project management for the end-to-end customer. So the cloud controller basically manages the virtualized resources. What are the virtualized resources that cloud controller uses? It uses server, it uses network, it uses storage. Server, network, and storage. All it will be used. So that's the cloud controller, and administrator would actually do these things. Then high level management could also like scheduling some decision making. All these things are being done by the cloud controller. So we are discussing about web service component of Eucalyptus. Web service component means there are various type of web services which are running on the on the on this Eucalyptus infrastructure as a service that are being promoting and developing that whole Eucalyptus infrastructure. So they have cluster controller, cloud controller. So all these things are there, and the topmost one is cloud controller. UI API management console means front end. Front end management consoles are there, and there's Amazon based AWS connectivity APIs are also there, so that it makes compatibility with your private Eucalyptus with AWS. Then we'll discuss about cluster controller. So this cluster controller basically do management of various uh, running nodes that are being connected together, and they are being controlled by singly by node controller. So this cluster controller manages this node controller. It can communicate with the network controller, and further this cluster controller communicate with the cloud controller. So cluster controller is in between node controller and cloud controller. So node is fundamental node machine, fundamental silicon based machine, and this cloud controller is larger aspect of abstraction and dereferencing of the whole cloud. Then this cluster controller basically do the scheduling of and management of various type of virtual machines in the network. So then we'll discuss storage controller. Storage controller basically do interfacing that helps to do storage of some files, like file systems are there, NFS file system, SCSI file systems are there, SAN device file systems are there. So these are the storage controllers are there. And then the walrus basically do allow a storage persistent data. Walrus provides you the persistent data storage platform. Then it walrus basically helps you do the bucket and object based virtualization virtual machine of how the image could be managed and user data could be managed in the walrus. Then node controller is the fundamental entity in this whole components of web service, that it do management of single machine. So it basically executes on any machine that hosts some VM instance, and this control virtual machine activity are like execution, inspection, and termination of a particular virtual machine. So that's the whole thing, whole point of view, that this is how the node controller actually install multiple virtual machines on a single machine or in a single machine they can have multiple virtual machines. Then node controller basically installed in every nodes, means every machines. And then this cluster controller basically controls the node controller. Then storage controller basically controls this node controller. And this cloud controller basically controls cluster controller and storage controller. Then scalable object storage basically controls the this communicates with storage controller and as well as cluster controller. And this management console is there for best GUI, graphical user interface, or this user interface command oriented interface. And this APIs are there which actually have Amazon and Eucalyptus compatibility that we'll discuss later. So this now we are coming to AWS and Eucalyptus compatibility. So AWS basically communicate with the in this fashion. AWS communicate with private Eucalyptus. So you in your lab you install a private Eucalyptus that actually communicates with Amazon Web Service Cloud. What are the features that it communicates? So the feature it communicates like EC2, Elastic Compute Cloud. It communicates with this EC2 connect and communicate with cluster controller. Then EBS, Elastic Block Storage is there. It communicate with storage controller. So EC2 communicates with cluster controller, EBS communicates with storage controller. Then storage S3 basically communicates with walrus in the Eucalyptus. The Eucalyptus has walrus and this Amazon component have S3. So there's API that communicate with each other. Then you'll see next AWS Eucalyptus compatibility. So AWS Eucalyptus compatibility are like in this implemented on top of Eucalyptus. So there's Eucalyptus infrastructure, private infrastructure is there. So it basically communicates with Amazon Web Service with the help of these tools. And the tools are being given on this AWS tools. And this tells you how to configure and manage your private cloud and communicate with the AWS. Private cloud is installed with the help of Eucalyptus. Then consumer basically uses some or reuses some AWS compatible tools. So how consumer uses and uses this AWS compatible tools? They manages images, they manages run some script, and these the tools are there. AWS compatible tools are there. Images management of that the image scalability. Image scalability means there's instance of image, for example, operating system installed with some of the software, that is called as image. It's not the image which we will means picture based image or some snapshot. It's not that image. Images of operating system installed with some software. So that software scales with multiple client, or there's need of scalability. So that could be done with the help of Amazon Web Service infrastructure. So consumer use and reuse could be done. And there's various scripting, code scripting. Then this tool in Eucalyptus is there, which actually do the management. And this cloud ecosystem is there, and that communicate with AWS. So this is how Eucalyptus ecosystems work and communicate with Amazon Web Service. So we'll discuss this APIs, what it do. Amazon Eucalyptus compatible API do. They do auto scaling. They use elastic load balancing. They have CloudWatch. So this is the architecture. This HP Helium Eucalyptus architecture. So that it will be easier for you to understand. First of all, data center is there, and data center has physical infrastructure. Various servers are being installed over there, and then you do virtualization. How you can do the virtualization? The same way we discussed Eucalyptus. So you install Eucalyptus on every server, and then it helps you do the computation power could be there, storage power could be there, networking you have to manage. So there's an identity and access management system which helps you to communicate with the Amazon compatible cloud compatible API. So on top of all these computation, storage and network, you will have the three APIs. What are the three APIs? Auto scaling, elastic load balancing, and CloudWatch. These are the three APIs are there. And these three APIs are basically communicating what? Amazon Web Service. How it do all these things with the help of hybrid management console. How it will do with some cloud consumer and admins are there. So admins are there, cloud consumers are there, admins are there, cloud consumers are there. So they basically have the hybrid management console, means command line interface is there, and they actually communicates and discuss and works with Amazon Web Service. Then this whole data center, physical infrastructure, virtualization, compute store and network is there, auto scaling, elastic load balancing, CloudWatch is there, and they have connection through some this auto scaling, elastic load balancing, and CloudWatch is Amazon compatible API that actually communicating with the cloud of Amazon Web Service with the help of some hybrid management console which been used by cloud consumer, whoever be the cloud consumer, and admin, cloud admin. So this is this part, whatever you are seeing, this is whole Eucalyptus enabled with Amazon compatible API, and this is Amazon Web Service which has EC2, S3 and EBS, and this is interface, user interface for cloud consumer and admin. So we'll discuss what is the property each thing do. So the you have instance of a virtual machine, and there's a traffic which keeps on increasing. The demand is increasing for your private cloud. So the number of users are increasing for your private cloud. So now the thing is that you need some auto scaling. So how you can do auto scaling? You basically have AWS and Eucalyptus compatible API. You directly communicate with that is the AWS API, and then you hire some of the infrastructure of AWS, and that scalability will be done by auto scaling that component of that API. How it do? So Eucalyptus Cloud helps to do resource up and resource down. Means that image and the client will be redirect towards the image of image stored at Amazon Web Service. So the replication is being created from the private cloud to the Amazon Web Service. So that client will redirect to the AWS infrastructure. Then you have to maintain performance and to meet out the SLA, service level agreement. So why we are using this auto scaling? We are using this auto scaling to maintain performance. Means there has to be good quality of performance. So the service level agreement with the increasing number of customer could be managed. Then how we can do it's simple. Amazon EC2 compatible APIs are there and tools are there for doing this. Then elastic load balancing means the number of traffic suddenly increases. So the that's how Eucalyptus came to know that this elasticity is required for doing the resource up and resource down. Means more number of resource required in Amazon or not. And how it basically distribute the incoming application traffic and service calls across the multiple Eucalyptus workload instance. So basically elastic load balancing distributes the traffic on the multiple uh, Eucalyptus workload instances. But when there's high elasticity is needed, means there's lots of traffic, inflow traffic is coming, then what it will do, it will shift uh, to the Amazon EC2. And then what is CloudWatch? CloudWatch is basically resource application monitoring tool inside the this Eucalyptus, and it is like Amazon CloudWatch. So CloudWatch Amazon is similar to the Eucalyptus Amazon. So it too monitoring that what is the number of resources that is empty, what is the number of users that want resources. If there's large number of resources needed by large number of users, so the shifting will take place. Then the collection of metrics are there, that how the collection could be there, means the how the management of increasing number of users could be done. So how that will set the alarm that identify the trend, what is the trend is there. Then action will be taken to ensure that the application should continue to run smoothly, that there will be uh, no delay in response time for the because of large number of traffic by the users. So the application should ensure the smooth running and maintaining the service level agreement and performance quality of service. So how it could be do, it has various metrics like we had discussed in the previous lectures. Some metrics are there, then the alarms are there, that there's a high number of usage required. Then identify the trends, and then shifting to the elastic load balancing will do the the distribution of workload to, and it takes help of cloud, that auto scaling part, to do the resource up and down with the Amazon EC2 compatible with the help of APIs. Then this is the architecture that we just discussed, that you have data center that is installed with some physical infrastructures there in data centers, and that virtualization has been done, that with the help of Eucalyptus that we discussed, that helps you do the computational storage and networking, and that has identity management for each user. And that Amazon compatible API contains auto scaling, elastic load balancing, and CloudWatch that has been communicating with Amazon Web Service Cloud. So this is private cloud. All of this is private cloud, and this is public cloud. So this is hybrid management, that hybrid management of console with the Amazon. So the cloud consumer can use this Amazon Web Service Cloud if they are not having resources enough for the data center in the private cloud. So that admin do all this management of installation of this private cloud and communicating with Amazon Web Service Cloud. So thanks for today. So in the next class, we'll discuss content delivery network, also known as content distribution network, and how the hybrid Akamai and Facebook works together. So thanks. Meet you in the next class.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks. Bye.